Esteemed, honorable colleagues, fans, family, friends, boys, girls, men, women, lowlifes, welcome to episode 242 of The War Room. In this episode, we take a look at a very, very candid interview done by Mike Shanahan in revealing his time in D.C. and what it was like, and touched on some of the things that we've just speculated on with Donovan McNabb and RG3 and how it all went south. We also dive into the trade deadline in the 2014-2015 NBA trade deadline and much, much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 242 of Your War Room.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander.
Give it to you.
Keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sort of like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
Listeners, blunt fly ladies, and prisoners, you are once again live in the War Room, brought to you as usual by War Room Sports on the WRS Podcast Network. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm here at the round table with my partner in crime, B. Austin. The NBA All-Star Weekend is behind us. The trade deadline was wild, and the NFL scouting combine is underway, so we'll discuss all of that. Stay tuned, because near the top of the second hour, we'll talk with Fred Perdue of College Football Extra to discuss thoughts on the combine. So strap in, get comfy, keep it locked, and join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports, so you can help us break down everything that I said we were going to talk about. All-Star Game, trade deadline, NFL Combine, everything. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, we want to give shout-outs to the WRSPN family. You can listen to the great shows on the War Room Sports Podcast Network from our main site at warroomsports.com, directly at WRSPN.com, or on the War Room Sports mobile app or on iTunes. You'll find some of the best shows on the net, such as the Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris, After Further Review with the Mayor, Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show with Phil and Savad, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon and Anthony, and a whole lot more. And we also like to welcome our newest show to the network, the Mad Scientist Sports Lab with Nick Ficcarelli. So shout out to the Mad Scientist. You can definitely check him out on the network. Just go to the network page, WRSPN.com. Click on the show on the right-hand side, the Mad Scientist Sports Lab, and you'll catch all of his episodes. You can also check out the listings over at fatsradio.com. That's PHATZ radio.com for air times of all your favorite WRSPN sports shows. Just the sports shows, including our show, The War Room, which airs Sundays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. What up, B? Y'all know Jimmy's still out of commission, so we still got to do our EPMD thing. So what's up with you?
Yo, man, strictly business. Business. Man, it was a crazy day. I feel like everybody who's not a superstar got traded in the NBA. Like 350 players moved around today. It's the craziest trade deadline mad dash that I've seen in at least the last 10 years that I can remember. And I got a chance to sit down and listen to my man Mike Shanahan break down and share with the public some of the things that War Room Sports has been saying for the last 3 years that nobody wanted to acknowledge. But now, at least y'all going to hear him say it. So now y'all can come back and apologize to Devin, Jimmy, Akil, PJ, and myself and say, you guys are sports gods. You are the Swamis. You are correct in every analysis that you give in this sports thing, man. You think it'll happen?
Never!
All right. Well,
Too much
yo, that
pride
interview
amongst the
was very,
idiots.
that interview was crazy with Mike Shanahan about DC.
Yeah.
His
We actually
time
had
tenure
clips
in
from
DC.
it. I mean, I got some of the quotes. We don't have clips, but we'll definitely talk about that. Maybe we can get some of our Washingtonian homies to call in and give us their thoughts on the whole thing. But it was a crazy week, crazy trade deadline in the NBA. Just like you said, it seemed like a trade was happening like every 2 seconds, and we're gonna try to sum that up. Of course, we're gonna recap All-Star Weekend. Nothing in depth, just give our thoughts on how we thought the weekend went and any thoughts we had on the individual contests and the games. But before we do all of that, we're going to tell everybody out there what happened this week while y'all were on the grind. And while y'all were on the grind is brought to you as usual by DirecTV. If you like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including that NFL Sunday ticket, go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the DirecTV logo and order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have DirecTV. All right, man. Some hometown news. Eagles safety Nate Allen, he was actually arrested and detained for about 5 or 6 hours down in Florida the other day for allegedly a lewd act towards a 16-year-old. Basically, he was accused of pulling out his junk at a traffic light and flashing it to a 16-year-old in the car across the way while making a crazy face. The crazy thing is, I mean, Nate Allen, of course, we've never heard of him being in any trouble. So the way he's speaking on the situation, I don't know, man, because I don't tend to believe athletes all the time, and people are going to think it's a homer thing. Trust me, it's not that he's a Philadelphia Eagle. I tend to not believe you.
We're trying to get rid of the brother.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But what he was saying, I don't know, it just seemed wild. He says he left Red Lobster parking lot and continued talking on the phone for approximately 10 minutes up until the point he was pulled over by police. They said he said when he came out of Red Lobster, as he was walking to his car, he was on the phone. He was still on the phone until he got pulled over by the police. And that's actually what he thought he was being pulled over for, talking on the phone. And then when they arrested him, and he was in the holding cell for several hours before they even told him why he was there.
5.
He said finally
5 hours, I think.
Yeah, 5 hours later, who told him that a 16-year-old girl called the police and accused him of performing this lewd act at the traffic light. So what's your thoughts on this? Nate Allen, do you believe him, or does he need more people?
Yeah. Nah, I'm gonna go with the benefit of reputation or lack thereof in the case of Mr. Nate Allen, and say it's quite possible that he decided to show his schlong to a 16-year-old baby, but I doubt it. I don't believe that. I think that this is definitely a case of the lack of anonymity on his part puts him in a precarious position with people in the public that can target him or, whatever he fits the description of. Like, I don't know. We don't know any of the details of the story, but I don't believe that he's guilty of what he's being accused of. Time will tell. We will see. But yeah, this feels funny, and his response, unless he's a practiced liar and deceitful person, his response really seems sincere to me. So I think he doesn't need any more people.
I have some of his responses. He was saying, I'm like, what? How is this the end of it? Because right now he hasn't been charged with a crime. But he said, how is that the end of it? I don't understand it. I'm like, can you please go and look at the traffic cameras or maybe keep the investigation going so you can see that this didn't happen? Then he said, it's not even about me. People are like, this comes at such a bad time during free agency. He said, forget football. I'm not even worried about football. Football could end tomorrow. It's the fact that I have an accusation that something as disgusting and repulsive as that tagged with my name. So, yeah, I mean, if he did do this, brother's putting on a nice little act. But for some reason, I tend to believe him. I mean, he is telling them, hey, go look at traffic cameras. He know Big Brother is watching. So you're not just going to throw that out there because they could say, okay, we'll go look at the cameras and go see what's up, because everybody has cameras on every corner these days. So, and like I said, he hasn't been charged with a crime, but he seems to not like the fact that, okay, they brought him in, they arrested him, kept him in there, and then just going to let it go. He's like, okay, I want y'all to know that I didn't do this before this whole thing is over. So he sounds kind of sincere.
Yeah, he wants them to pursue it, because he wants to. If I'm in his position and I'm innocent and I'm accused of something like that, like he even came out and said, like, damn, football, this is about my name and my reputation. So I kind of respect that. Like, he wants them to pursue this to the end so that he can have a counter, and he's justified. I think he should go back at the person who made this accusation if it's unfounded and untrue.
Right. And like you said, I would be just like that. Like, if I didn't do this, like, I don't want this, I don't want this
pedophilia.
I don't want my name associated with this. So I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to draw, even though it's over. I'm going to draw because I don't want the court of public opinion to think anything.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to our listeners right now, particularly our male listeners. Well, female listeners as well. All listeners. Look, man, we all look at that little map of the guys that resemble the old man in Family Guy, the touchy feelies, Paul Keto Bear, and all that. And we make fun of these folks, and we call them the scum of the earth, and we tell each other what we would do to people that we run into that's on this map, or at least I know Devin and I do. But then I learned some things, man, that make it really difficult to judge and gauge things, because do you know that you can be charged as a sex offender if you get caught and arrested for peeing outside? Like, I'm talking about if you in the alleyway and you turn your back to everyone and you pee on the wall and the cops run up on you, you have to go register as a sex offender.
Right.
And now every neighborhood you move into, people are going to be looking at you strange, like you touched little boys' booty holes. Like, dude,
and all you did was not want to be a grown man peeing on yourself.
Listen, I'm guilty about 10 million times of peeing outside. So, be careful, man. Watch where you whiz.
It's funny you say that, because I have a friend who told me that their coworker was on a list for about 5 to 7 years for peeing outside, basically, doing that. First question I asked was like, well, were they peeing like near a playground or something? I'm like, no. Like, basically outside, they couldn't make it into work, basically outside the job. Like, they couldn't hold it no more.
Wow.
I'm like, damn, man, you're a sex offender for 5 to 7 years on that list. People shunning you. It is crazy, man. There are a lot of people who deserve to be there, who should be there, but there's a lot of people that get a bum rap for something, that they probably shouldn't be on there for. But look, man, speaking of junk, yo, what's up with your man, Dwight Howard, man? Dwight Coward, as you call him. I know you saw the video. The video has gone viral, but he was sitting out a game last week, wearing one of his ugly suits. He did an interview on the sideline, and as he went back to sit on the bench, he went and like put his fist in the crotch of his teammate Isaiah Kanaan, who coincidentally just got traded to our Philadelphia 76ers. I don't really like that, because he didn't look like he was that. He didn't look like he was that disgusted with Dwight Howard touching his nuts.
He was not disgusted at the act. He was not disgusted at the act. He was disgusted at where it was done, who saw it, not that it was done. Because he, towards the end, as you play it in slow motion, he kind of gives a look of and then smiles. And so, look, man, my position on all of this, man, as we mature as a company and we're growing, and we have high aspirations of one day being picked up by Disney and paid millions and millions of dollars of doing this. I just want to fall back on my opinion. I'm just going to say that at some point we have to bring Sid Ziegler of Outsports on to interpret Dwight Howard's actions. And I'm not just talking about this, but just the whole psychology that Dwight moves around in, because I think that he needs to come out of the closet and take a stand for the group of people that he's a part of. There's no point in being deceitful and hiding, and then things like this occur and we're left to try and interpret these actions, because we all know who and what you are and what you like and what you enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just be yourself. If you were to come out and state that, look, I am Dwight Howard, I am a homosexual male, I play basketball, you would be doing a lot more for the cause than Michael Sam or Jason Collins, because you are a big star. Otherwise, you're running around here, you're frauding, you're telling people you're straight, you're telling people that you're a good dude, a strong stand-up, when we see your skirt, B. So, that's my whole take on it. Devin was actually mistaken. He said that he put his fist into another man's lap. That's not exactly what happened. He reached in with his 5 fingers and put his fingers around what was in that young man's shorts, and he tugged on. He didn't put his fist in his lap. He didn't, you can't soften these things. You've got to tell what it is that you honestly saw. And
I watched the video. I thought he fisted him, man.
He tugged. He grabbed hold of it. He grabbed hold of it, and he tugged it and pulled it in a motion that if it was a female, we would have considered it pleasurable. That is what he did. He tugged it with his hand, with his finger. He gave a pull, and the gentleman had a look of consternation at first, turned to euphoria and pleasure. So it makes us believe that this is something that these guys do on a regular basis. I mean, there wasn't any, jump back. I mean, everybody on the sideline just acted like it didn't happen. Like, kind of like when we stand around and Mike Tyson says something and that he says something crazy, but he's your man. So it's normal. Like, they know that Dwight runs around and he pulls penis. So it was nothing for them. They was cool with it. So
I was definitely surprised by the lack of reaction. Like, the dude, the dude that he did it to, Isaiah Kanan, I think his name is he's nobody. But like you said, at first he looked like it caught him by surprise, just like, okay, maybe dude was a little too rough with it. But then he quickly calmed down and was cool with this dude touching his manhood in the middle of an NBA basketball game in an arena filled with 20,000 people and millions more eyes watching from their couches. So yeah, it was just a weird situation for me. And we've joked about the direction that the NBA is going in now with the tight clothes and the fashion shows and everybody wanting to play with each other.
The lack of competition.
Yeah, but this come on, Dwight.
Yeah. Confirm it.
You've taken it to a point where, this conversation really can't even be a joke anymore. Like, you put your hand on that man's penis during the game. Like,
he grabbed his Johnson and pulled and tugged it and gave a tug.
He gave him a tug during the game.
He gave him a pocket pull outside of the pocket.
All right. Well, speaking of keeping on the subject of Richard Heads, Riley Cooper and the Philadelphia Eagles were in the news last week. We didn't get to talk about it during our last show, but we weren't going to let this one slide. The Eagles put out a calendar, just like every NFL team does. And in this calendar, one Riley Cooper, a.k.a. Mr. I'll fight every N-word in here, was featured in the month of February. For those of you out there who don't know, don't care, forgot, or just don't acknowledge it because you're a Riley Cooper yourself, February is basically it's Black History Month. Whether you dig that or not, because I've heard some people have some debates about it on this very topic. But whether you dig it or not, it's basically celebrated as Black History Month. So how ironic is it that Riley Cooper, of all the Philadelphia Eagles that they could have chosen, because really, if you're choosing 12 players, Riley Cooper is not a top 12 player on the team to begin with. So for him to even make the calendar and then get on the calendar in the month of February after the controversy that he's had, how ironic is that, man? Did the Eagles drop the ball on this, B? Because they're claiming that it wasn't their call.
Right. So let's get to that, and I was even going to go there with it. So before we get into Riley, right? Let's go to the no good Eagles, who I kind of defend their position with Riley Cooper to the myriad of African American fans and other fans. You know, we've got some fans of varying ethnic descents that really were incensed that the Eagles allowed him to remain on the roster. My position there is, I don't need you to be anything but what you are in order to play for my team. I don't care if you're a racist. I don't care if you come from a racist background. I don't even care what you said, as long as you go out and you catch the football, because it's not illegal to be racist. You deserve to have a job. It's up to us. It's incumbent upon us as a society, us as groups of people within that society, and us as a culture to change the social environment to where it's uncomfortable for Riley to think these things. It's uncomfortable for Riley to do these things. Like, if we have a problem with it, change society. Because what ends up happening is we don't have these dialogues. From the black side of things, people don't talk about it enough. And when something happens, you want to be outraged and act crazy. From the white side of things, white privilege affords you the benefit of not thinking about stuff like this until it happens, and then you want to get incensed. But we never have the dialogue and acknowledge that racism still exists. So when stuff like this happens, I'm not really that mad or shocked about it. Why would we deny that man the opportunity to play football, catch touchdowns, catch passes, and make a living? Because at the end of the day, he plays in a league with 75% African Americans. So you don't think that he's going to pay the price in the locker room, on the practice field, and in games? Yeah, he's going to get punished either way. So it's all good. Now, the Eagles, dude, y'all are way out of line, because then what you tried to do is deny it and place the blame on the National Football League. The National Football League is guilty of many, many improprieties and many things that we can slander them for. But, dog, this is the Eagles' calendar. You mean to tell me that no one caught this? Are you serious? You want to insult my intelligence to a point where you believe, and then pass the buck to the NFL? For real? Honestly, that's what you want to do.
This is what they said. I'm gonna give you the quote from what the Eagles said in the news release. They said, "We do not oversee the production of the annual team calendar. We do not provide any input about the players who are featured or where those pictures appear in the calendar. The NFL licenses the production of that calendar to a third party, and we do not have an opportunity to review the material." Okay, let's say they're telling the truth. I still have a problem with the last part, because this calendar, whether you oversaw the production or not, represents your organization. So that last part, we do not have an opportunity to review the material. First of all, as good business practice, that's something that each and every organization should demand from the NFL when they're putting their names and putting their organization's logo on anything. So, you should be able to review it first. So I'm saying this is negligent on the Eagles' part, even if they didn't oversee
either way, you can't get out of it. You can't get out of it. But I'm going to take it.
I mean, this goes for the Eagles, the Patriots, whoever. If this is normal practice, then this is something that proves that you should have been challenging normal practice, and I bet you they're going to oversee it from now on.
I'm going to take it a step further. And say we've seen two things now from the Eagles organization under the Chip Kelly regime, and who's our GM? I apologize, man. Current Roseman. This regime.
I was about to say Chip Kelly now, but yeah,
right.
Roseman.
Now, I support the way that I support the Eagles getting rid of Deshaun Jackson. What I didn't support was the way they did it. For me, I just want to cut the dude. Cut him. Tell the world that you cut him and live with the consequences. You're grown men. But the way that they went about cutting him showed negligence and sort of no social radar, if you will, or touch with the fan base, because you had to concoct this story and point to a whole bunch of things to defame his character, which may or may not be true. I'm not even saying that what they pointed to was wrong, but you didn't care about that. My point is, you didn't care about the things you pointed to when you cut him, because you were aware of that for many years with him playing there. So now all of a sudden those things are a problem. If you had a problem with him, you should have said that 3 seasons ago. Not a problem with me. I'd have been cool with it. But you use those things to cut him when, in fact, the bottom line was he was due $12 million and you didn't want to pay that, which I agree with. Don't pay him that. He's only worth 6 or 7. So this
Don't
is another
slander him
case
because
where
you're basically. I mean, he got picked up right away because I mean we do know in the end it's that kind of league. Sports athletics are like that. If you got talent, people don't really care much, but you're still risking this man's livelihood by, because some people have been blackballed, for less. So yeah,
free Freddie Mitchell, free Freddie. So my point in bringing that up is this is indicative of where the organization's character kind of lies, like these little things that this is a bad look. It's a bad look for my team. Bad.
Yes, sir. You can't have Riley on February, no matter what happens. No matter what. Y'all got to go snatch them out the stores. Go call Modell's, tell them to send that order back. Y'all can't have Riley Cooper on February.
Riley, for next season, man, catch a pass on every N-word in here, man. Come on.
Yeah,
you got to do better.
Instead of fighting them all, catch a pass on them. All right, so last thing while y'all were on the ground. Remember last week, B, we talked about how RG3 got into it with a fan on Instagram, and James Dolan fried a fan's life away in an email. This week
we got one more.
Colin Kaepernick on Twitter. Colin Kaepernick tweeted 1,000 abs arm workout, 10 minutes straight on the jump rope, 2-hour study session in February. That's what we call a recovery day. So a fan basically comes on and says Kaepernick 7. 49ers at ab workout won't help find open receiver. #study. So I guess because Kaepernick did say, to his credit, he did say that I put in 2 hours of study. So he replies to the guy, "Are you illiterate or just ignorant? Read the tweet again. Better yet, give me your breakdown of every defensive coverage." Then he said, "I want every player's responsibility on every coverage. If you can't do it, mind your damn business, clown." Then he said to him, like he didn't give dude a chance to say anything back. Then he said, "You got 8 followers, bro. Your own family don't even want to know what you're doing. Get a better life." So the thing is, the dude's followers went up to almost 2,000 right after Colin finished burying him. But is it me or
he gave him
Colin?
Life. He gave him life. He breathed life into him.
I would still ask Colin though, like, you mad, bro? Like, was it that serious?
On a couple of levels, this is hilarious. Like, I don't find fault in any.
He can't do all the stuff he told dude to do.
The fan that came at him has a valid claim, because if you recall, maybe 2 seasons ago or maybe last season, I've noticed that Colin Kaepernick puts a lot of energy and time and effort into his athletic ability and working out, and that's okay. You can't knock a guy for wanting to be physically fit and at his optimal level to perform in National Football League. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it in and of itself. I'm just going to point to the fact that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are the worst athletes in the world, but yet there's 2 of the best quarterbacks ever. So my point being, I noticed that Colin Kaepernick, he'll work out with the defensive backs, he'll work out with the receivers, but his level of play at the quarterback position leaves a lot to be desired cerebrally. So the mental part of the game is maybe where he should spend the most time focusing, and this fan happened to pick up on it and make comment. Don't have a problem with that. That's what social media is for. Colin's response, I don't have a problem with Colin's response. As a fan, if you're going to jump out there, then part of you wants a response from that player. You got what you asked for. You got what you wanted, and I'm not mad at Colin Kaepernick for taking his shots back. Like, it's a man-to-man, human-to-human type thing. Like, you said something to me, I say something back. Now, going deeper into Colin's psychology, he wouldn't have got that mad if some of it wasn't true. You don't get that mad if it's not true. He was mad because it was true.
Yeah, he was real mad.
Yeah, that's my take.
And this is my thing. And I agree with the stuff that you said, but what a lot of these athletes are doing are, they're basically humble bragging about the stuff that they're doing, and
that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, they're humble bragging a little bit because they're fishing for compliments. They're fishing for Richard Riders, like, yeah, my man he working and this and that and blah blah blah. But it's like, I don't know. It's like we don't get on every 5 minutes and tell everybody what we're doing. Like, yeah, right now we're on the phone making a deal with a beverage company or something. Like certain things is like you're fishing for positive responses. So when you get a negative response, then you want to get extra mad and then start talking about the dude and his family and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I agree. Like, fans need to stop saying stuff to athletes and not expecting to get roasted because they're human beings too. But at the same time, some of these guys are really emotional because their little social media plan backfires. You're out there fishing for compliments and somebody, stung you and it really stung. So you got a little upset and had to blast the dude. So that's all that was right there. I mean, it was kind of the same thing with the RG3 thing last week. I'm, listening to a little Michael Jackson while I'm going to train and give back to the community. Like, yo, shut up! And then when somebody call you, you upset. But it's a two-way street. If you call these athletes on something, they get roasted.
And real quick, salute to the General Deb, because my fellow general. Because he did coin the term humble brag, hashtag humble brag. That's a War Room Sports term. You heard it here first. You can run with it, but no, we originated it. The humble brag.
But
false humility.
That's what happened this week, everybody, while y'all were on the ground. All right, let me give some birthday shout outs real quick before we move on to our hot topics and birthdays, as usual, brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. Financing options are available. Yes, you can put something on it. So visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for discounted rates, be sure to tell them that War Room Sports sent you. Don't forget to tell them that.
My birthday, yay!
You can also go to our website, warroomsports.com, and click on them from the sponsors page as well. But we like to give some birthday shout outs real quick. And Mike Miller, Cleveland Cavalier Mike Miller, since he's running around following LeBron everywhere he goes now. He turns 35. Jason Maxiell turns 32 today. Jason Maxiell he's a funny dude to me because there were times where Jason Maxiell, he tried to look like he had a little bit of game. So shout out to Jason.
He's been a bum for a long time. Been bumming it up.
Andrei Kirilenko turns 34 today. I'm not mad at you, Andre, even though you didn't want to report to my Philadelphia 76ers when you got traded there. I probably wouldn't have gone either. But he's cool because Andrei Kirilenko gets a hall pass once a year from his wife to do as he feels he must do. So you can't knock a dude that got that kind of clout in his own house, even though he spurns your team. And happy birthday shout out to Gary Reasons, one of the linebackers from those old New York Giants teams. He turns 53 today. So we like to give a nice big War Room salute to all of the homies on their birthdays.
My birthday, yay!
Let me let you guys know how you can get in touch with us real quick before we jump into some hot topics. You guys can check out our website, warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message about our company, our show, or to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. You can screen that. For general inquiries, email us at info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the site, click on the memorabilia tab to buy War Sports merchandise. Click the blog tab to read our latest sports articles in the All's Fair and Sports and More blog. Then click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, to follow us on Twitter, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast, to watch our webcast at warroomsportstv.com, listen to our radio network at WRSPN.com, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app to get everything I just mentioned on the go. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to create an account, you can sign in through your Facebook and Twitter accounts. And while you're at it, make sure you click follow so you can get updates and reminders about the show. We'll be taking questions and reading posts, Facebook, Twitter, in the chat room, as we do every week during the show. But if you want to call in and speak with us, the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline is now open. That number is 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted, but if you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. All right, so B, you want to let everybody know who Hot Topics are brought to them by?
Absolutely. If your schedule is a little too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks and kick back and let someone else do the reading for you. All you have to do is visit Audible and sign up for your free trial at audibletrial.com/War Room Sports. Make sure that it's audibletrial.com/War Room Sports. In no time, you can be listening to the latest bestsellers, hands-free, stress-free, while getting other things done at the same time, whether you're cleaning up, you're driving, getting it chewy, she's not spitting but swallowing, but taking care of other business while you read. Great way to get books read and get through your day.
Multitaskers. Real quick, because we got the homie Survive from Tissue and the Tape waiting on the line. So I just real quick, man, give your thoughts. You know, Jerome Kersey, former Portland Trailblazer, died this week at age 52. Really unexpected, man. The doctor, they didn't have a cause when the news first broke, but a doctor came out and said that he had a blood clot, I believe, somewhere down his leg that traveled up to his lungs. And that's how he ended up passing away. He had knee surgery earlier in the week, so they're thinking that, you know, it may have had something to do with that. So that's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. You remember Jerome Kersey? Remember them playing days?
Yeah,
Clyde.
Absolutely. With Clyde the Glide and Terry Porter and those guys. He had a long career. I mean, believe it or not, dude played darn near 20 years. I mean, he was in the league up until 2001 with the Bucks. Salute to him, one of the greatest from Clarksburg, Virginia. You know, Jerome Kersey, man, God rest your soul, rest in power. Going too soon.
Yeah, I remember Jerome Kersey being like the young stud on the team back when Portland were around that time, you know, when they used to play, when they were playing the Bulls in the championship. He was like one of the young guys on the team, one of the young up and comers. He had, you know, just started making a real good name for himself. So that's like my fondest memory of Jerome Kersey. So definitely rest in peace. Dame Lillard, Portland Trailblazer guard, he even tweeted the other day, RIP Jerome Kersey, spoke to him regularly about life and the ups and downs of an NBA season. Gone too soon. Much love. Prayers to the family. So he was a team ambassador as well. Like he was always around the Portland Trailblazers, you know, even till the day he died on last Tuesday. Him, Terry Porter, Brian Grant, they all appeared at Madison High School in Portland in celebration of Black History Month. And they were doing it in a team capacity. So, you know, I guess he was a Blazer for life. And like you say, he played from like 84 all the way to 2000, 2001. So definitely a nice long NBA career. Most of it with the Portland Trailblazers.
Played my whole young life from the time I was 4 to the time I was 21. Like, dude played a long time. And he went to the rack. This was before it was cool to shoot from 25 feet at least 6 times a game. Like he was about that rack life.
Yo, and then some quick boxing news, man. Your man Al Heyman is caking up some more. Remember last month we announced that deal that he was doing to bring boxing back to NBC. Okay, so now he has a deal to televise boxing on CBS, and because Showtime owns CBS, and he has a contract with Showtime as well. So he bought the deal with NBC that's going to have fights in prime time. But now he has fights that are going to be on CBS, I think at least 8 of them, and CBS Sports Network. They said the first CBS card is going to take place April 4th in Quebec City with a light heavyweight champion, Adonis Stevenson, defending his title for the 5th time against Sakio Bika. That's not, Adonis Stevenson, that's a pretty good fight for free TV. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I would pay to watch Adonis Stevenson, but, you would expect to at least have to have cable to rock with Adonis Stevenson. So I think this is good, B, because what has everyone been saying over the past 5 years or so? Boxing is dead, this and that. And I think that's just because the biggest fights, the fights that the casual fan wants to see are all pay-per-view events. I personally know for a fact that there's a great fight, at least one, every week in boxing, on one of the networks, on one of the cable networks, HBO, Showtime. I mean, I pretty much see him, but the casual fan that complains about boxing being dead, they don't take the time to see him because they're only checking for the big giant name fights that are on pay-per-view. But I think this is a great idea because if you're bringing boxing back to network TV, where more people can just be flipping on a Saturday or Friday, whenever they're going to have the fights, just flipping by and they happen to see it, I think it might get more interest back into these fights with the lesser known fighters, which are always, in my estimation, the better fights. Anyway.
Well, there's a couple of things going on here. First and foremost, salute to Al Heyman because he literally is that dude, and he thrives in anonymity. That's my word of the day, anonymity, because he's not out in front. The fans barely hear the name, but they kind of hear the name. He's the reason for Floyd, and he has quadruple the money Floyd has. So while you celebrate my man Floyd carrying cash around and doing all of that dumb ish, your man Al Heyman caked up. He makes a lot of great deals and great decisions, and the networks are struggling to find legit content to place as they compete with YouTube, Netflix, Hulu. So this is a coup for them and an opportunity for him to bring boxing back and be an integral part of that. Man, salute to him for this move, man. He's a person that I pay attention to. I wouldn't say I have heroes, but I definitely pay attention to the moves that Al makes. Not really appreciative of him thrusting Floyd the Coon out there for people to laugh at and demean, young black males. But I mean, you cannot argue with the business savvy and business sense of Al Heyman.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so before we move on, man, let's go to the phone line. Let's go to the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline, where we got the homie Savad on the line from Tissue and the Tape podcast on the WRSPN. What up, Savad? What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing today?
Savad, good, man, what's happening, brother?
With the wild whirlwind of the NBA trade deadline, man, it's been a crazy day trying to keep up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that, and I had a point about boxing too. I'll keep it brief. Very crazy day, probably unprecedented when we go back and look at the number of deals and acquisitions and different transactions throughout the day. But the fact still remains that none of those teams that were involved in any of those trades are going to win a championship this season or next season. So, it's good for the media, it's good for social media, it's good for, TNT tonight. And, for those that play 2K15, it's good for... They're going
to get a nice update tonight.
Yeah. It'll be great for them, but in the grand scheme of things, when it boils down to the 3 or 4 teams that actually have a legitimate shot at hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy, none of them were involved in any trades today, so that's the thing to kind of think about.
I'd say one. I say one. I say and their chances may have been bolstered because of what they did today.
They got to get in first.
I think they're cool. I think they're cool. You know, I'm talking about OKC. I think they'll get in. And I think they really bolstered their bench, which was starting to become their weakness.
Certainly.
I don't know. I think they're gonna make some. I think they're gonna make some noise, man. So I think they're the only team that has a. I think
they're gonna make it. The one thing to think about them is they basically mortgaged their future, being cheap and keeping Ibaka because he was supposed to be the rim protector / athletic big that was gonna be the big guy to the one-on-one guys they have. And they let Harden go, and now they've had to draft Adams a couple years ago, and now trade for Cantor, and they're still in the same position. I mean, Cantor's not going to do anything to give them.
I still don't think Harden would have. I don't think Harden would have ever stayed there, though. I mean, the dude leads the league in scoring now. You got that potential. You don't want to be handcuffed behind two other dudes. So I think
hindsight is 2020, but he wanted to be the man. And question for you, sir, Savah, who do you root for, sir?
I've mentioned this on the show a couple times now. San Antonio Spurs season ticket holder
for a new listener.
Yeah, right. So San Antonio Spurs season ticket holder.
Essentially, what you're doing is you're taking the fans of the other teams in this league and mushing their faces in, as you say, that nothing that your team has done is really going to cause my Spurs any issues. You can dress a hog up and it still plays in poop and it's still a hog. You can call Dwight Howard a true man and power forward, but he's really
I call him Dwight.
One of them. Yeah. That's another name I'm gonna add to this. So you're pooping on everybody else because you're the fan of a championship team. I get it. OKC, I think makes themselves stronger. Ibaka really just needs the right direction, guidance, and discipline. I don't know that he'll ever receive that in today's NBA because people are allowing him to take on a light-skinned brother game as opposed to getting on a block. Yeah. So, no, he's not, because that's an insult to Bosh. Bosh is actually Bosh is a Hall of Fame talent. I'm not saying he'll end up in the Hall of Fame, but he's a Hall of Fame talent in terms of skill and ability. Serge doesn't have what Chris Bosh has, so he shouldn't be playing that far away from the basket.
If you look at the shot chart, they have the exact same shot selection, exact same shot chart. Yeah, the volume.
They should not.
Because you got two jackers there, but
he shouldn't be that far from the basket.
That's what I walked away from the trade deadline. And the other thing I just wanted to mention really quickly, you guys made an excellent point about boxing and the network TV, them basically like just being at a loss when it comes to content, and CBS getting that being a huge coup. Of course, we do Tissue and the Take podcast on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. And people often like to say, rap is like hoops because of its connection to the hood. But I really think that boxing is as close to hip hop, not rap, but maybe hip hop, or the hip hop that, people know and love, because you hear the same things. There's no good boxing, there's plenty of good boxing. There's plenty of good hip hop out there. And
great analogy,
right? Yeah, people just aren't looking for it. You know what I'm saying? You're just gravitating toward what they're feeding you, and what they're feeding you are these big name fights that never live up to the billing. But it's the little cats who get in a rumble on every week, and it'll be some of the most exciting fights you'll see all year. But you're skipping them, and you're saying that boxing is dead, hip hop is dead. Great analogy.
Exactly. Just one more thing, gentlemen, just for all your listeners out there, if you are looking for some hip hop music to partake in that's come out in the the recent weeks, I would suggest that everybody take some time out, listen to that Saha the Prince He has a new mixtape that's out. It's a Black History Project Part 2. NAACP is the subtitle for it. Also, of course, if you're into Drake, you can also check that out as well. He had a historic week releasing a surprise mixtape on iTunes. Those are definitely a couple things to check out for it.
Yeah, that joint don't have a mixtape price to it. Though.
What's that?
That don't have a mixtape price to it though. That joint like $12.
No, it's got a full LP price to it.
But you know what?
That chicken, man.
Survive gave you guys recommendations, but this is what I recommend. I recommend you go to WRSPN.com, go to the menu, the show menu on the right-hand side, click on Tissue and the Tape. You listen to episodes of Tissue and the Tape, and we don't have to give you the reminders because they're going to let you know every week what you need to be listening to. So make sure y'all do that. All right, man.
And one more thing before I go. Hey, Jim, get well soon, man. Salute. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah. All right, man. We'll wrap to you. I'm gonna be down in Hampton this weekend, so I might bus up in Phil's studio.
Oh, nice.
If I'm up that late, try to record with y'all or something. I'll call him and see what's up.
That's right, Hampton, Virginia, home of the real HU. Holla, Bison.
I'm gonna let that slide. My in-laws live there. All right, peace, man.
I'm not Hampton Institute all day.
I had to cut him so he couldn't get back at you on that one. All right, so real quick before we get to Fred Perdue and talk a little bit about this NFL Combine. That's what we wanted to say about boxing. As far as the big fight that everybody says that they don't want to see, but they're still holding their breath to see behind closed doors. We keep hearing that the fight is a done deal, Floyd and Manny, but then every time Floyd gets interviewed on TV, he's denying that that's a fact. At the NBA All-Star game, they caught him on the sideline with his riding boots on and his matching jacket. And he said, those are just, that's just rumors and speculation. Nothing has been set in stone yet, but they're trying to make it happen. So we'll see. Last thing, Kevin Durant. He's a little frustrated with the media now. I'm not really sure where this came from, but during All-Star weekend, he was being interviewed and they asked him about the job security of his head coach. And KD just went off. He said, to be honest, man, I'm only here talking to y'all because I have to. So I really don't care. Y'all not my friends. Y'all going to write what you want to write. You're going to love us one day and hate us the next. That's part of it. So I just learned how to deal with y'all. And before that, he even told the dude, he's like, you guys really don't know SHIT, like stuff that we haven't heard from Durant before. Now I'm gonna ask you, B, real quick before we get Fred on the line. Is this Kevin Durant or is it just trendy now to be an a-hole to the media?
A little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. I think that if you really pay attention, there has been a metamorphosis of Kevin Durant and his attitude over the course of the last 2
trying to be angry, but that's not going to win championships for you.
No, it's not. But he's no longer the kid that would come to the podium with the East Bay or JanSport backpack, the glasses, personality glasses, and a plaid shirt, and just sit down and answer questions quietly. Like over the last 24 months, I would say. He's gained a little bit of an edge. Now, you're shooting at him, and I'm probably going to shoot at him because, like, I know him personally. Played against him, coached against him, played with him. He's a nice guy, man. He is a genuinely good kid. His mother did an amazing job raising him and his brother.
So that's why I'm wondering where the tough guy with the media act is coming from.
Yeah, salute the District Heights. But one of the things that I have noticed is a little bit of that is translating to the way he plays and who he targets. So I'm hoping that he can channel some of that MJ, Kobe DNA, since those are the guys that he looks up to, and not be perceived as so nice and so friendly. Channel a little bit of his friendship with Russell Westbrook, because what Russell's performance is genuine. Like, he really doesn't bang with the media. He just likes the attention for wearing women's clothing, but he doesn't really bang with the media like that. So my hope is that some of this isn't just for show with the media, but he really has more of an aggressor's mentality and attitude in the way that he plays the game. That's my hope. That's my hope.
Yeah,
No more
and that's
working out
where
with
his
LeBron.
aggression
Try and kill
should
that.
be. His aggression should be there, like on the basketball court. You know, I don't understand why everybody just wants to have an attitude, especially at Kevin Durant, because really the media,
Right.
if we want to talk about any athlete who's been given
They
a
love
pass,
him. Yeah.
yeah, I'm about to say they love
Oh,
you. Like by this time in LeBron's career, when he hadn't won a championship, LeBron was getting fried, dyed, and laid to the side by the media. So it's like, don't play the tough guy with people who are giving you a pass in comparison to other superstars of your ilk. Like, I'm a big, huge Kevin Durant fan, but it kind of caught me, by surprise. I guess is a lot of these guys, the older they get, the more
but some of the tough guy stuff is
Kobe
is on,
getting his curse on every day in the media.
Some of the tough guy stuff is actually on the court. Like he went at what's the young lady we were just talking, Dwight. He went at Dwight on the court. He's gone at a couple of other dudes actually on the court. Like it's there's an edge about him. It's not just for show in the media. Like he's changed a little bit his approach and his mentality. Nice guys finish last, and he's I guess he's listening.
But
plus
you know what?
the guy, the hip hop dude. Go ahead.
A comment like I only talk to y'all because I have to. Like that for me just doesn't sit well because these dudes have been giving you a collective slurping, for your whole entire time in the league. So it's hard for me to believe that you genuinely feel that the only reason I talk to y'all is because, like, come on, everybody can't be beast mode now.
Well, yeah, let me also say this. He's very much a team guy. So he doesn't buy into the hype. He's a team guy. And when people take shots at Russell and take shots at his coach, he kind of stands with them in solidarity. He doesn't isolate himself and say, oh, y'all, that's them, or that's his thing. Like, he's always been like, I sit in a boat, sink or swim or float or move the ship all the same. I'm in the boat with you. So he has stood up for Russell at various times. He stood up for coaches various times. So I think it's genuine. I do think it's genuine.
No, I respect the fact that he was banging for his coach in this particular situation. It's just some stuff that you decided to say. It's like, yeah, okay, you might have gone a little too far with that. But we got waiting to talk some football. Got to give our stat of the week real quick. War Room Sports stat of the week. It's actually a collective stats from the NBA All-Star week, since we're going to recap that in a few minutes. Russell Westbrook, we know he scored 41 points in only 25.3 less than 26 minutes. He scored 41 points. The crazier part about that is that he was 16 of 28 from the field. So he got up 28 shots in less than 26 minutes. As you know, he won the MVP of the All-Star game. Chris Paul led all players with 15 assists. He assisted on at least 12 field goals in 6 of the 7 All-Star games in which he played. So his average of 12.9 assists per All-Star game is the highest in history. Matt Johnson is number 2 at 11.5. Now, last thing. Now, I heard you speak on this. I think you were on the Mayor show. Shout out to After Further Review, and we'll talk about it a little later. The 3-point attempts in these All-Star games is getting way out of hand. There was 133 3-point attempts in Sunday's All-Star game. There was only 132-point field goal attempts. 4 different players in the Eastern Conference took more than 10 threes. Melo, who was 2 for 13, LeBron was 4 for 12, Korver, who was 7 for 12, and Kyle Lowry, who was 2 for 11. I don't know why he was shooting. They said there's never been an NBA regular season or playoff game in which even 3 teammates took more than 10 3-point shots each. So those are the crazy stats that bring a little bit of perspective to the All-Star game. Keep them in your mind, B. Austin, because we're gonna bring them back up when we recap the All-Star game. But right now, let's get into some NFL rap. An NFL Wrap with Fred Perdue is brought to you by Stitcher Smart Radio. You can now hear our show, The War Room, on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your computer, your iPhone, your Android phone, your BlackBerry, or your Palm phones. And shout out to our brother Jimmy, the Blueprint. He always tell you if you got a BlackBerry or Palm phone, report to your roof, and you know what to do after that. The latest episode is always available for you. No syncing needed, no memory or storage wasted. Downloading is simple. Click on the Stitcher logo on our website and listen, or you can download it to your mobile phone directly from that page. But before you do, enter the promo code The War Room, all one word, for a chance to win a huge cash prize. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. All right. On the line with us, as we have every week, especially during the college football season, we got Fred Perdue of collegefootballextra.com, and he's here to talk NFL Scouting Combine. This is the time where he gets to mix his
underwear
college
Olympics
football knowledge with his NFL football knowledge, because we all know he does field vision with us as well on War Room Sports TV. Fred, what's going on, bro?
How you guys doing this evening?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Trying to.
All I know is
Go
ahead, Dev.
No, I was just saying,
when
we
you
just
have a quarterback like Jay Cutler.
The Jay Cutler. Yeah, I'm saying we just trying to put our finger on everything that just happened in this NFL trade deadline. We didn't expect it to be what it ended up being. Like, going into showtime today, at least going into the morning when everything was being planned out, we expected the combine news to be, the biggest or the craziest thing of the day, and then the NBA just felt like they wanted to compete. But let's get right into it. Like B said, the underwear Olympics are underway. Let's start off with some sleepers. Who are your combine sleepers?
Well, we have to start out with. I like the defensive side of the ball this year. The offensive side, we have the wide receivers are nice. The running backs, which is a very deep class, that's a nice class as well. But I got to start on the defensive side of the ball, showing some love to the cornerback. Quentin Rollins, cornerback out of Miami, not the U, but Miami of Ohio. He was a former point guard. He was a point guard at the University of Miami of Ohio. He's 6'1", 203. Got some good. He's quicker than fast. He's not gonna run a 4.3, 4.4, but he's a good press corner. He's gonna be able to play the number 2 corner role down the road. Let him develop a little bit. And I feel like with a corner like him, when you in an NFL where the receivers and tight ends are getting bigger and bigger, heck, the running backs are getting bigger, you need a taller corner, a bigger, thicker corner who can put his hands on a guy and just kind of and press him at the line of scrimmage to impede his progress. This guy is not going to blaze. He's not going to blaze a 40, like I said, but he's going to be a guy that can. He's going to open some eyes.
Mm-hmm. I like his technique. Definitely mixes it up and definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense in today's NFL with what you have on the outside. You've got to put size to match up on size out there, Paul. So he's a make sense pick for me and becoming your prototypical corner.
Most definitely. For me as well, I do have to go to the other Miami. It's very weird to say that.
Why?
Other Miami, but Philip Dorsett, that they aren't right now. But you can produce 8 guys going into the combine. So go figure. But Philip Dorsett, wide receiver, he's a blazer. He's considered going into this combine the fastest prospect. He's going to be possibly challenging Chris Johnson's 40 time. He's been hand timed at 4.21 seconds at practices and just throughout his career at Miami. This is hand time, not just sophisticated laser times that we have at the combine. We'll see what happens. Quite honestly, I think he's going to be overdrafted. teams love deep speed, but when you can't run a route or get off the line of scrimmage, that really means absolutely nothing in this NFL when you have receivers such as Clyde Gates and others that have tried to be that speed guy, Travis Benjamin, among others, who can't get off the line of scrimmage.
Strong candidate.
I'll even go as far as most recently, T.Y. Hilton. He doesn't even get off the line of scrimmage very well, but he's very fast, quicker guy. But Philip Dorsett, he has very deep speed. He doesn't have the best hands either. When you're wide open,
He can take the top off the defense. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, he can. If he gets over the top of that defense, that's the only problem we're going to have with him. And my other sleeper, I got to give a little love to this deep wide receiver class and Trey McBride from William and Mary. Yes, we're going to the Division II ranks. 6'2", 205, big body guy. Showed me some things at the Shrine game this year, the East West Shrine game. Showed me some impressive things. Might have to look out for him. He's another one of those red zone guys that's quicker than fast, good hands. I really like what I've seen from him. Had to go back and watch the tape. Had to go find some William and Mary tape. Can you believe it? Some William and Mary tape. But those are my sleepers. I really think those guys are going to have some. They're going to have some guys really looking at them once this combine is over with.
All right. Well, let's go to what everybody wants to talk about, and that's the two quarterbacks at the top of the draft. You got Jameis Winston. You got Marcus Mariota. We're hearing reports from Tampa that Lovie Smith is basically saying nothing that he found on Jameis Winston's background check scares him away from him. So I would figure in that case, wouldn't he take him over Mariota? Because if you're figuring that nothing's wrong with his off the field stuff, there's no way possible that you can think Mariota's a better quarterback prospect than Jameis, right?
Well, I'm on the other side of things. I think on the field, Jameis Winston is the best overall quarterback in this class, and he would have been the best quarterback last year. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The fact that Lovie said he found, he's not afraid of anything on his background check, then you couldn't possibly think that Mariota is better than him on the field. So basically, you expect Tampa to take him? I do. Mariota, he's a nice college quarterback. He's Colin Kaepernick light. But Jameis Winston, he's the best quarterback I've seen to be drafted since Andrew Luck on the field, and that's hard to say. I mean, Andrew Luck, he as good as he is right now, and as good as he was back then when he was drafted. Andrew Luck was a 99 overall graded out guy. Jameis Winston's right there at a 96, 97, 98 graded out guy. The only thing that's holding him back is the off the field things, the alleged raid, the silly stuff such as shooting animals with pellet guns and stealing soda and things like that. Those are the little silly things, and I know NFL teams really don't care, but the rape thing really bothers teams. But on the field, Jameis Winston is so good. He actually came in at 6'3" 3/4", 231 pounds. He dropped about 12 pounds in advance for this. He's been training with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. He even said
taking it serious.
He's also been training with Heisman Trophy winner Chris Weinke, who recently just left his high school job down here as a head coach at IMG Academy to go work up with him. And that says a lot when you have two really a former NFL head coach who was really great at what he did and the former 49ers made a big mistake getting rid of, and a former Heisman Trophy winner who, while he didn't make it in the NFL, is a Heisman Trophy winner nonetheless, and there has to be something to be said from that.
Fred, there's something that I noticed within the comparison of the two players, Mariota and Winston. When I look at Winston, there are three throws that he makes that had made an impression upon me. One is the deep out or deep crossing route about 20 yards down the field from one hash to the outside sideline on a rope, which is a strong throw because you're putting the ball in the air. about 30 to 40 yards on a rope to an anticipated target. The other throw was the seam route that he throws to the tight end, number 35. I don't know the dude's name. He throws that very effectively. And then the dig routes. The dig routes at various depths. So he'll throw it at a shallow depth of 7 yards. He'll throw it at a deeper depth of 15. He'll throw it at 20, which is behind the linebacker in front of the safety to a crossing receiver who's not stationary. Those three throws are quality NFL throws that if you can make any other throw. I did not see any throw that Marcus Mariota made that you throw consistently in the NFL. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, because Oregon's offense is the in-crowd offense for college football. It's not made for NFL throws. And it doesn't mean he can't make those throws, but he's not showcased making those throws.
I've just not seen him. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't. Yeah.
Correct. Oregon's offense is really a deception-based offense. The read option, the motions, the screens, everything involved in that offense, the pulling guards and the reverses. It's cute. You're faster than everyone else. You're more athletic than everyone else. But the big boy offense, the Alabamas, the USCs, the Miamis when they feel like it, the Florida States of the world when they run pro-style offenses, they have to throw the deep dig, the seam, the 15-yard comeback. You have to throw that 10 and 12-yard curl route. Those are big boy routes. You can throw. Jameis can throw every route in the route tree, and he has a savvy football mind. I quite honestly think this year, for all of Jameis's mistakes on the field and off, it was his best season. Despite him winning the Heisman, and that was a great year. But if you take Jameis Winston off that team, does Florida State win 10, 11, 12 games? No, because they were behind in every game. And who brought them back? Jameis Winston. Because he made every throw he had to make, and while Oregon finally caught up to him, he still kept them in that game. Because at the end of the day, they still were in it against a high-paced offense. And he was going toe-to-toe with Mariota, and the defense gave up eventually. But Jameis is the best quarterback I've seen on film since Andrew Luck. Those guys don't come around very often. And I've come around on Jameis Winston because in the beginning, I was I've seen him since his days at the Under Armour All-American game, live in person, to now, and he's consistently progressed. And when you show that progression from I can make the simple throws and see half the field to I win a Heisman Trophy seeing 3/4 of the field to now I lead my team and take over and I'm the guy at a major university, that shows a lot of growth and maturity in a guy who can just clean it up off the field and he'll be anything he wants to be.
Yeah, because you look at this season that just passed, and a lot of people say, well, he won the Heisman the year before. This year, he had the 18 interceptions, but what I saw from him, and like you mentioned, all the games where they had to come from behind, is he made throws when he had to make throws. They had a really dramatic season because of it, but yeah, I think he's the better prospect by far. I'm not one of those sports guys or sports fans that's totally enamored with the extra mobile quarterback. I don't need my quarterback to be a world-class athlete. I want him to have, a world-class brain when it comes to reading the field, reading the defense. And if he has a world-class arm, that's definitely a plus. But that's not even a must, because some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history didn't have world-class arms. But it's a lot more to the position than a lot of fans are giving credit for right now. And it's kind of bothering me. But
I definitely agree, Dev. I do, because I like to pose this question. When everyone talks about the Michael Vicks and the RG3s, the Colin Kaepernicks, even Jake Lockers of the world, tell me the last one of those type of quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl, and I'll show you none.
Well, everybody's going to give you Russell Wilson, but I even think Russell Wilson's
a pocket
kind of he's kind of a different breed. He uses his mobility different than those guys.
Russell Wilson isn't a run-first guy. He's extending plays to throw the ball down the field, similar to an Aaron Rodgers, completely different.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm about to say, and Russell Wilson. We all know that it's not like the offense carried that team, but that's a totally different conversation.
The only thing I do have to say about Russell Wilson is that he doesn't have the smarts to stick to a run play, but that's rather here nor there.
All right, so the U. You got any more of any more prospects from the U?
Miami, for a 6-7 record, they brought in. They have 8 players going to the combine. You have Philip Dorsett, obviously, one of the faster guys in the country. Anthony Chickillo, a defensive end, who was actually the number 2 defensive end coming out of high school behind Jadeveon Clowney, and actually beat him out for the Under Armour All-American Under Armour All-American game.
Well, does this guy like to practice? Does he like to practice and work hard?
Anthony Chickillo is what I call a ham and egger. He's going to be that guy that stays around in the NFL for 5 to 7 years, and he'll set the edge, and that's about it. He's just
okay.
He's that consistent guy. He was the hometown kid. He won the award for that, but he's never really been able. The only thing I do say about him is he never was let loose at Miami. He had to do his job, and they never really let him let loose as a true pass rusher. So I'm interested to see if he can actually rush the passer. We have Jonathan Feliciano, a offensive guard who has been injured throughout his career, but when healthy is always a pretty good player. He actually slimmed down from 335 to a meager 325 just to get a little quicker for this combine. Eric Flowers, who is projected to be a first-round pick, he's very similar to a Bryant McKinney in his heyday, 6'8", 330-pound guy who, if he gets his hands together, if he learns the position and gets better with his hands, and I really hope a team, if they take him in the first round, goes and puts him at right tackle, maybe guard, lets him develop into that guy versus putting him out there and throwing him to the wolves, he could be a very good player. Duke Johnson, the all-time leading rusher at Miami, in 3 years, by the way, with over 3,000 yards. And he did all of that in 2.5 years, actually, because his second year he only played about half the season. Ladarius Gunther, a 6'2" corner who's really impressed me over the last couple of years. Another one of those tall guys, not fast but very quick. Could be that number 2 corner on the team. Reminds me a lot of Sean Smith a lot at cornerback. You have Clive Walford, who's probably the number 1 tight end, depending on what team you're looking at. 6'4". 230, 40 pounds. Miami always produces a pretty good tight end. And Denzel Perryman, I had to leave him for last. He's been the rock of that defense, rocking that number 52, the former Ray Lewis number. And he hit just like Ray Lewis. I don't really like his covering ability, but as a run stuffer, if you put him in a 3-4 and just tell him stop the run, he will be the perfect player for you. I really hope he actually turns out to be pretty good, but I think his actual teammate, Thurston Armbrister, who did not get an invite to the combine, may eventually be the better player because he's very versatile. He can play all 3 linebacker positions.
All right, well, before we get you out of here, you got any bold predictions?
Bold predictions. I think Nick Marshall will end up throwing at the combine. He was the quarterback at Auburn. They asked him to play a little corner, but I think he's going to throw the ball a little bit. He may be this year's version of Pat White. He'll do a little bit of everything, and he may be looked at as an emergency quarterback. And I think Philip Dorsett might just challenge that 4.24 that Chris Johnson ran at the combine years ago.
Wow,
all right,
that's a lot. That's moving.
The Underwear Olympics, people. There you have it. Fred, let everybody know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on Twitter at FPurdueSports. Also, you can check me out on Twitter at College Football Extra. That's CFB Extra on Twitter. We actually just added on a guy that's going to be really doing some things for me with the draft, David West. He's just put up some things where he's breaking down every event at the combine, and he's doing that pretty extensively. He's going to be covering the NFL draft and the combine, so make sure you check him out at DRW Scout on Twitter as well.
All right, man. Well, we will keep having you on to keep everybody abreast of everything that's happening leading up to that NFL draft. So we will talk to you most likely next week.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. That's Fred Perdue, everybody. collegefootballextra.com.
Freddie.
Also catch roomsportstv.com doing the Field Vision show, our NFL show with us. Keeping with the NFL, man, let's have a brief conversation about something that went down in the NFL this week before we get to our NBA talk. And that's the fact that Mike Shanahan actually called in and opened up on a Washington, D.C. Area sports talk show, the Sports Fix with Kevin Sheehan and Tom Lavero. Shout out to those guys. He actually stayed with them for a good hour and 35 minutes talking about his time in Washington, from getting there, the Donovan McNabb saga, the Albert Haynesworth saga, and of course, the RG3 saga. I know you heard the interview, B. What were your overall thoughts on the interview before we talk about key points? Like, first of all, do you think the stuff that Mike Shanahan was saying was 100% true?
No, I do not think it was 100% true.
No. I
tend to about 99.742% true.
Well, I was about to say, I might be right there with you then, because for me, it was one of those things where I tended to believe him, because it's like, what does he have to lose in this situation? And if anybody wants to say something like, well, why is he going to come out now and say all of this stuff? It's because that final check from Dan Snyder just cashed, and he no longer has any ties to the Washington organization, and he can answer any question honestly that you asked him these days. And Kevin Sheehan had a bunch of questions to ask him. And to me, it seemed like he just opened up and was way more honest than he'd ever been as a coach here in Washington. And as a coach, even though, we perceived him to throw a couple of players under the bus, you generally support and defend your players. But even now, he didn't seem like he was in 100% attack mode, but he was in honesty mode. So real quick, let's start off with some of the stuff he talked about early in the interview, and that was the whole Donovan McNabb saga. I think everything he said, it kind of went down in accordance to what we thought, the whole time it was going on. He revealed that
War Room Sports was right. That's all you need.
He revealed that he didn't particularly want Donovan McNabb, especially at the price that the Eagles were asking. They had to give up 2 draft picks for him. One was a second, I believe. The other one was a 5 or something like that. He was actually interested in Mark Bulger, and at the last minute, the Rams basically said they were going to hold on to him, and they couldn't get him. So the contingency plan was McNabb, but he had made it clear to his higher-ups, Bruce Allen and, of course, Dan Snyder, because he has something to do with everything. He made it clear to them that he didn't think McNabb should come at the price that he ultimately ended up coming at. But, after that, the rest was history. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
With Donovan McNabb, he was very, Shanahan was very, I don't know whether to call it gracious. He played it politically pretty well, but you could read between the lines of the things that he was saying, and he was also pretty clear. Donovan McNabb came from a system that coddled him, came from a West Coast offense that was changed tremendously to play to his strengths and minimize the exposure of his weaknesses. When he got to D.C., the offense that Shanahan had installed, the passing offense, they did 2 things that really hurt Donovan. Number one, the play action. Either it was a play action that sold the run in a sense that they're putting the ball in the gut. You got to concentrate. You take your eyes off of what's going on downfield, and you have to look up and reacquire. Or you have to bootleg. We call it quarterback keep, and that's something that they even kept in with RG3, which we'll talk about in a few. But you fake the handoff, you pivot, you take your eyes off of what's going on downfield, you roll out, and you reacquire targets that are 15, 20, 25, 30 yards downfield for intermediate throws into combination coverages. These are things that Donovan did not do on a regular basis in Philadelphia. And so he was bitching and moaning and complaining when Kyle and Mike were here about installing more screens, more stationary routes, because he couldn't do it. And Shanahan knew that and tried to accommodate him in the sense that, okay, work a little harder. Kyle tried to install some things, but overall, the Shanahan's passing attack is an intermediate passing attack that goes down the field a lot more than what the Eagles did on a consistent basis. And so what Shanahan said was McNabb was a little out of shape, which we know historically that's the case. Wasn't interested really in running, and quite frankly wasn't that concerned with competing heavy. Wasn't really the fire was there. Wasn't there, rather. That's what Shanahan said. This was McNabb at 32. So from 32 to 33, which is when he spent his time in D.C., he was basically bumming it up. And Shanahan was nice enough not to call it that, but he was bumming it up. And he knew, and they knew that they couldn't win with him, and they didn't want him. They wanted Mark Bulger. That's what Shanahan said. Bulger was first. Manning was first. Peyton was who they went after. Peyton wasn't coming because he doesn't want to play Eli. And then, Mark Bulger was next. They really wanted Mark and couldn't get him. And so it was really Daniel Snyder that went out and went on a limb and said, we want to bring Donovan McNabb. And I think that spoke more to the fan base and the marketing piece, which Snyder is hands-on with, than what the offense does on the field. I don't think they ever wanted Donovan.
Well, he because there were moments in the interview where he was really complimentary of Donovan, but he definitely pointed out his rate of mistakes during the 2-minute drill, which actually led to him being benched in favor of Rex Grossman late in that season. But I know you remember the portion of the interview where he was talking about the Haynesworth saga, and he kind of brought McNabb back up in that because Haynesworth was the same way. He didn't want to play in a certain system that he didn't feel that he fit. He didn't want to play in 3-4. Shanahan actually gave him freedom to go seek, another team, and nobody stepped to the table, especially with the contract that he had. But he said that his thought was, okay, once the drama played its course with both of these players, he figured that they weren't even going to make it through all the way through the next season, wherever they ended up. And he actually turned out to be right, because McNabb didn't make it through a whole season in Minnesota. Haynesworth didn't make it through a whole season in New England. So, he ended up kind of being right. I know a lot of people didn't want him to be right because there were a lot of defenders out there while it was going down, mostly for McNabb. Nobody really defended Haynesworth because whatever Haynesworth did, he just looked like an ingrate just out in public. They kept doing the whole fitness test thing to get him on the field, and he kept failing it. And his situation was just a little crazy. Donovan's, they tried to keep it under wraps, but, once it seeped to the surface, a lot of people defended Donovan McNabb, but didn't take into account all of the things that you mentioned earlier. The fact that he came from a system that was a little more coddling to him, made things a little easier. So he wasn't ready to do things out of the comfort of Andy Reid's scheme, and it kind of cost him. It cost him in two places afterwards, and then even after that, the fact that Donovan McNabb was still of age to be in his prime years with his with the rest of his counterparts, Peyton, Breeze, Brady, people like that. But he was outside of the league looking in and couldn't get a spot. So it was very telling.
Yeah,
and
it was tough. Yeah, it definitely was tough because great. Here's the thing, right? You got a ton of very, very talented people in the NFL or players, but greatness transcends system and scheme. And in both of these cases, you had players that were essentially susceptible to the scheme. In Albert Haynesworth, the thing that really makes you mad about him, if I'm a Washington fan, was he didn't even try. Like, we don't even know. Albert Haynesworth, it was good enough to, I'm not going to say dominate, but play well in a 3-4 had he chosen to. And he was also good enough. Listen, Shanahan said, look, I've got 30% of my plays on the D line where we can run a 4-3 for pass rush purposes. You can be a specialist if you choose to and get after the quarterback. That's what you want to do. You want the glory. You want to get the sacks. Here's how we'll help you get your sack numbers. Haynesworth wasn't interested. If it wasn't his way, he didn't really want to give the effort. And that's what makes you mad about him. With Donovan, it was an ability thing. And we'll probably get blasted from the fans that listen and hear me, consistently ream dude for being a coward and ingrate and overrated. But with Donovan, I don't even think it was a commitment even to playing football. It was an ability thing. At that point, Donovan wasn't able to play quarterback at the level that they needed him to play across the board. Not that he was ungrateful for the opportunity or he wasn't trying. He just couldn't do it anymore. And they couldn't hide his flaws.
If you have any comments? Y'all want to defend anybody in this situation? Y'all know the number. 334100012. Just press 1 when prompted. If you got a comment to make on this whole situation. And before we leave it, we have to talk about his comments in regard to RG3. That was most of the interview, talking about the whole process from the time RG3 was drafted, even before he was drafted, because to my understanding, he liked RG3. He thought he was, a great college quarterback. I don't think, by the sounds of things, I don't think he was too enamored with drafting him, especially with what they had to give up to get him. And he definitely made the point that had the penalty come down that Washington and Dallas got for what they did in the uncapped year, if that penalty had come down earlier prior to them making the deal with the Rams, then that deal would have never been made. Because besides what you gave up, that penalty stripped them of some more picks, so it kind of hampered what the team could do in the future. And, I think that's really coming back to bite them now, because besides year one, when Shanahan was basically doing his best Andy Reid impression with RG3 and kind of making the offense a little more simple to help him have success, since that time, everything they've given up for him basically, I think it's coming back to bite him in the butt. So what are some of the highlights that stood out to you when he was talking about RG3?
Well, here's where I think that the politician in Shanahan reared its head, because I think that what he can do is channel his inner human being, right? So he can say, yeah, I like Robert Griffin. I think, I can point to his strengths. Yeah, he's a great athlete, this, that, and the third. But the reality is, what else could you say? Because you didn't know the kid. You didn't have a relationship with him when he was at Baylor. You didn't know him. So to me, that was code speak, and that was fluff. To get down to the nitty gritty, you didn't really want to draft him. You were in a position where you took a job with an owner who is way too hands-on, and they were committed to getting someone that they felt could be a star and marketed to their fan base. So Shanahan kind of stepped back and stepped out of the way and said, all right, I'm pretty nimble on my feet here. I can craft an offense or install a play package for this kid based on what his strengths are, which is utilizing his athleticism to be a playmaker. So he quoted all of the strengths that we all know Robert Griffin had. Yeah, while he learned how to be a pocket passer. Robert Griffin is smart enough to realize that, listen, inside the game, the fans, we all love the running quarterback. Well, not us, but fans love the running quarterback because of the sensation. It's sensational. It gets on ESPN. But even inside the NFL, the guys that run don't really want to be runners for their entire career because they're not trying to run up against Ray Lewis every week or Bobby Wagner or Luke Kook Karaoke and get hit. So it was quick for Robert Griffin to realize, look, I'm not trying to get beat up. But he didn't have the mental capacity, not from an intelligence standpoint, but history and background. He wasn't taught the position to be a pocket passer. Shanahan was like, look, man, it's going to take you some years to get it. So let's run this read option while we can, and we can have success with it. It was telling, man. The interview was telling.
From what he said, from what Shanahan said, because we've documented this the whole time because a lot of people kept saying, about Robert Griffin trying to become a pocket passer. Remember, a lot of the fans try to put that on the coach's staff. They're trying to make him something that he's not. When for the last 3 years we've been telling them, no, that's him telling the coaches that this is what I want to be. I don't want to be known as a running quarterback. People seem to forget that, his dad came out during an offseason and made a stink about what he didn't want his son to do anymore. He basically mentioned the fact that, man, if you want this guy to be your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, then you can't have him running around risking injury all the time. He can play in the pocket. Robert Griffin III basically echoed those sentiments, and some stuff that Shanahan said in the interview basically confirmed everything. And it seemed to come to a head after that Cleveland game when Kirk Cousins came in and the play package was totally different. He was having success out of the pocket, and Robert Griffin III didn't like the fact that they were calling those kind of plays and that kind of play package for Kirk Cousins. And then when he got back in, they were actually running to his strength with the pistol, read options, getting them on the move and stuff like that.
And Dev, this was a masterful play by Shanahan in terms of the way he articulated this and elocuted himself, because he said some things, code words, and we pick up on it because we're members of the media and we do this for a living, but he didn't spell it out. Let's bottom line this for our listeners. The bottom line for this was Norbit, aka RG3. I'll be respectful, man. RG3 did not want the perception of being a black quarterback, a running quarterback. He wants to get in the pocket and throw the ball. Didn't have the skill set yet. It hadn't developed. So Shanahan, it is funny. RG3 is coming out kind of saying this, and Shanahan's rebuttal to that is, well, not a problem. Let's just teach it to you. Let's take some time and teach it to you. RG3's ego was like, hell no. I want to be a pocket passer, and I want to be a pocket passer right now. So then Kirk Cousins comes in, and Kirk Cousins has been a pocket passer all his life. That's how he learned the game of football. So the play packages change. The play calling changes. The protection changes. And now we have the fan base saying, look how the linemen block for the white quarterback, but they don't block for RG3.
Because that's what really simple. That's how simple-minded a lot of fans are. That's how they see it. Oh, he's under more duress. So it's not that he's getting the ball out quicker. It's not that, it's the fact that they want to block for the white boy and they don't want to block for that. That's ludicrous. These dudes get paid. That's
what it was all around DC. That's what it was, and it wasn't. It wasn't RG3 holding the ball too long, or not recognizing the excerpt.
Let me read you an excerpt from the actual interview, and this is where Robert, in the offseason, actually came into the coach's office, demanded a meeting, and pointed out to them which plays were "quote unquote" acceptable and unacceptable. For him to run because he wanted to be a pocket passer. And this is what Shanahan said. He said it was actually 2 days after the Super Bowl. He had asked to have a meeting, and I really don't blame that on Robert. I mean, Robert, to me, was a young player. He had a heck of a year. He had a serious injury at the time. And it's me that changed the perception of a person, because I know Dan Snyder felt very strongly about Robert being a drop back quarterback and did not want Robert to take shots. I didn't want him to take shots either. All I wanted to do was run an offense that gave him a chance to be successful. I wanted him to get better at throwing the ball away. I wanted him to get better at sliding, but doing the things that I thought gave him the best chance to be successful. All right, last paragraph that, kind of tells you the story. Yeah, he did ask for a meeting. He did talk about number one. He wanted change. He mentioned the Baltimore game and the Atlanta game, his injuries. He talked about protection, shortening his career. What I tried to share with him is I thought he had probably as good protection as most rookies do in their first year because of what he was able to do with the running game. If you compare Griffin's protection to Andrew Luck's, it's not even close. He actually mentioned what plays were acceptable and unacceptable. And when he started talking about what plays were acceptable and unacceptable, and that he wasn't a rookie anymore and wanted to voice his opinion, the term unacceptable is used by Dan, the owner, quite often. So I had a little bit of a smile when I heard some of these complaints. So basically he was saying, he started saying this stuff. So I started laughing, sunning him, because I know he's not speaking his own words here. But it's crazy that you just came off your rookie year. I see this kind of shows you where Robert Griffin's ego was definitely out of control, where you walk into the coach's office and tell him which plays are acceptable and unacceptable in the larger scheme of things, and talking about protection. And what he mentioned to him was a really good point. Like protection, if you compare his protection with the protection of in their rookie years, even now, it definitely wasn't close. Andrew Luck is a player who gets the ball out of his hands, and he still took a pounding his rookie year that RG3 didn't have to take. And they were trying to protect him from taking a pound like that. So to sit here and blame it on your protection, it's I don't know, man.
Shanahan pointed to Luck as the example, and he said, "Look how we can protect you if we utilize the read option as a means to protect you and slow defenders down from rushing you." And RG3's response to that and the success he had in his rookie year is, "Coach, I can do that in any system. I'm me."
All right.
That was his response.
This is a crazy situation. It was a very telling interview. Any other highlights before we move on and talk a little B-ball?
Nah,
because you can kind of understand why it ended the way it ended. RG3 is definitely, he definitely has a crazy ego. And of course, Shanahan has a crazy ego. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach. So, when those type of egos clash, you have a young quarterback trying to tell you what to do. And on Robert's side, you have a coach that thinks he's doing for you what's best for you in order to get some early success, while you learn the NFL game and you don't necessarily agree with it. You're going to have these clashes. You're going to have the headbutts. And that's what happened in Washington. That's why Shanahan is no longer there, because, of course, the ownership is going to ride with the young potentially stud quarterback. But it just hasn't worked out for him thus far. But, we'll continue to monitor the situation, see what it is. Ironically, during that particular interview, the coach, Gruden, came out and actually said that Robert Griffin, he sounded really unsure of himself, but he said that RG3 was going to be the starter going into next season. So we'll see. We'll see how everything goes there. But let's get into some NBA talk here, because this whole thing is the situation was crazy. And I have a feeling that it's not over. I mean, as far as Shanahan goes, it's over. But the saga in Washington will continue.
The response is coming.
Yeah. So
the response is coming.
So you guys can check out our website, warroomsports.com. Call in to speak with us about any of today's topics. Dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at numbers 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. Let's have some NBA rap. An NBA rap is brought to you by Fanatics. For the best in your favorite team's merchandise and apparel, shop Fanatics. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Just go to our website. warroomsports.com. Click on the Fanatics logo, and you can buy NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, NCAA gear, and more. All right. NBA All-Star Weekend, BR. What were your overall thoughts of the weekend?
Overall thoughts of the weekend.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Overall, yeah, I got you. Overall thoughts of the weekend. Excellent performance by Zach LaVine in the dunk contest. Shout out to him. Shout out to Victor Oladipo for being a great showman. His dunks may have won any of the other weak dunk contests that had happened over the last few years, but in this case, he was overmatched from the gate. The three-point shootout was great. Didn't particularly like the skills challenge, but I appreciated the format, which fostered competition. So I liked it. It was okay from that standpoint. Chris Bosh, able to put together another winning shooting all-stars thing. And his team, the funny thing about his teams is they're always at a disadvantage because it's one NBA legend and two WNBA players competing on his team at all times. So that's a funny thing. The NBA All-Star fashion show, it kind of fits into the category of what Dwight Howard was seen doing to his teammate. These guys are not interested in so much in competition as they are in promoting their personal brands, strutting the catwalk. I mean, you had guys that ran to be a part of a fashion show or produce a fashion show, but won't engage in a dunk contest, run away from competition. It's
that's kind of
new,
weird.
Yeah, it's suspect. But hey, this is a new age. The game itself, salute to Russell Westbrook, put on a performance. Always fun to see in that, a dribbling and shooting clinic and exhibition, but it just didn't feel competitive. It felt like just 10 guys running up and down, shooting the ball, dunking the ball. It wasn't, I don't know. Even in the fourth quarter, typically when those games get a little bit more serious, this game didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like there was any measure of seriousness or competitiveness the entire game, first half through second half. Hence the scoring. And I think that the three-point attempts are out of control, man. They need to ban the three-point line, man. It's out of control.
133 three-point attempts in the All-Star game. It was kind of the same thing in the Rising Stars Challenge. With them, it was also an overabundance of alley-oop attempts and stuff like that. Like, we know it's an all-star game. We know you guys want to put on a show, but it doesn't seem to come as naturally for maybe this whole generation. Maybe it's a generational thing. But, we always want to take it back to our day, when Magic and Michael and all of those guys were out there. The show was put on, but it didn't seem like it was this forced. You know what I'm saying? And these days it just seems like the flashy part of the game is just so forced, and it kind of takes away from the action. But overall, I thought NBA weekend was pretty good. It was pretty exciting. Some weird moments, like you said, the first fashion show. I hope this doesn't turn into an annual thing. But and I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't watch it, because I can't clown it if I don't watch it. So I did watch some of it, and I really think, not just because it was a fashion show and a quote-unquote manly sport, it was just a big waste of time. It was boring. There was nothing to it. They came out wearing their weird fashions that people seem to like these days, and I don't know. All-Star Saturday night, I think, of course, the dunk contest, I think the three-point contest was really exciting because this was the best overall field we've seen in a long time. And unlike the dunk contest, the three-point contest gets star power. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're a star player, if you can stroke the three, like some of these guys, like you're in the contest. Like right now, Steph Curry is a star. Kyrie Irving is a star. Klay Thompson is a rising star, if not already a star. So you have some of those type of names in the three-point contest, and then you just had the straight-up specialists like Kyle Korver and guys like that. So I thought that was really good for the All-Star game, especially to see Steph Curry catch fire like that, because a lot of people already think he's arguably the best shooter in the league. So to see him score 27 on the final rack and hit 13 shots in a row, that how can you not get hype over something like that? And of course, you mentioned Zach LaVine and the exhibition he put on. So I thought overall was pretty good. The level of showmanship and throughout All-Star Weekend, like I said, I think they might take it overboard at times, but overall it was a good product, man. I can't really complain.
Mm-hmm. Well,
can't really complain, man. So shout out to all the winners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, shout out to the winners. You got the World Team who won the Rising Stars game. Andrew Wiggins MVP. Shout out to J.R. Smith for winning the Weirdo Show. Shout out to Team Bosch on their third straight win in the Shooting Stars Challenge. Patrick Beverly, of course, in the Skills Challenge. Steph Curry for the three-point contest. Zach LaVine in the dunk contest. And Russell Westbrook for going absolutely ham in the three-point contest. I mean, in the All-Star game. What are your thoughts? Because I've seen him, but Melo takes a beating from the fans and media on an everyday basis, but he's been shut down for the rest of the season by the New York Knicks after playing a good 30 minutes in the All-Star game. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have a problem with him playing and then shutting it down for the season?
Definitely. I am typically a Melo defender because I think the fans don't understand what Melo can do and why his successes are far and few between as a team, because he's rarely surrounded by the type of talent he needs to be successful. And when he's compared with other players, their supporting casts are a lot better. But in this instance, I believe I've got to shoot at Melo a little bit, man. You go in the All-Star game, you get 20 shots off, obviously, because it's at Madison Square Garden. It's your home. Cool. Come out to center court, do your little thing because you're the host. If you can play that many minutes in an All-Star game, you owe it to the fans to play. I mean, I understand your knee is hurt, but I can't, if you're going to shut it down, you knew you were going to shut it down, or you could have shut it down 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks ago. Unless this has been a progressive injury that has gotten worse, I don't get the sense that it is. It's something that's chronic. It's something you're trying to repair for your future. Then why waste our time, man? You played enough to get voted into an All-Star game. Nah.
But I think that had a lot to do with it. I think I go the other way on this because I don't necessarily think that it was Melo's decision at all. I think I would point at the NBA and maybe specifically the New York Knicks. I mean, maybe specifically both. I mean, it's in New York. He's the only representative that, either team would have, the Knicks or the Nets. And I pretty much think they always want a representative from the home city. He was voted in by the fans. The only thing I'm questioning is the fact that he played so many minutes, because I question a lot during the game while he was out there, because you can kind of tell that he was laboring on that knee. So I question the minutes that he played. I thought he would start the game, make the announcement, start the game, maybe play 10, 15 minutes at most. But I'm not surprised that he shut it down, because I don't think that was his decision either. If you were listening, leading up to All-Star break, they had already been talking about shutting Melo down. So in my mind, I had already kind of figured that, okay, they're going to wait till after All-Star weekend since, you know, he's the captain in the whole city and he's the only representative they have. They're probably just going to wait till after the game. But like I said, the one thing that I'm confused about is why he actually ended up playing so many minutes, if indeed they were going to shut him down afterwards. Maybe you're not risking more injury, but you're risking this. You're risking the court of public opinion questioning you and what you're doing. You're risking Melo getting bashed in the media and by fans even more than he already does. But no, I think the decision had to come from the Knicks and the NBA. I think there was pressure on him to show up at least and play. But the 30 minutes, I can't explain that at all. But peace out, Melo. We'll see you next year. Before we go, because we only got a few minutes left, so we definitely have to. Let me read these deals. You tell me the one that will go out on, you know, the deals that stood out to you the most. Here's some of the deals from the trade deadline today. The Timberwolves actually bringing KG back to Minnesota, and he had to waive a no-trade clause in order to go back to Minnesota. So, you know, I think this is basically his swan song, if not this year, next year, which is the last on his contract. So the Wolves get Kevin Garnett, and they send Thaddeus Young to Brooklyn. Miami lands Goran and Zoran Dragic, and Phoenix gets Danny Granger, Justin Hamilton, and 2 first-round picks from Miami. Phoenix also acquires Brandon Knight from the Bucks, and of course, in a move that I know you are hating right now, Michael Carter-Williams from the Sixers is on his way to Milwaukee along with Miles Plumlee from the Suns, Tyler Evans from the Suns. The Pistons get Reggie Jackson from the Thunder. The Thunder get Inez Kanter, Steve Novak, DJ Augustine, and Kyle Singler. I think that bolsters Oklahoma City's bench. Like we said earlier in the show, watch out for them. The Celtics got Isaiah Thomas from the Kings. They also got Jonas Jerebko and Luigi Detomi from the Pistons. Phoenix got Marcus Thornton and a 2016 first-round pick. The Blazers, of course, got Afflalo from the Nuggets. That was a pretty big deal. The Rockets got KJ McDaniels from the Sixers. And the Sixers got JaVale McGee from the Nuggets. And they got a 2015 Oklahoma City first-round pick, which is top 18 protected. And the Sixers basically, let's talk about that, because I know you had problems with what they did. They basically bolstered their draft stock some more and got a bunch of first-round picks. I guess their scouting department sees something coming in these next few drafts. MCW is not really KJ McDaniels in your mind, right? It's the MCW trade that has you a little miffed.
Yeah. I saw talent in KJ McDaniels. I do see talent. I see MCW as a quality starter in the NBA. I see him as a 17, 7 to 8, 2 steal a game guy, fringe all-star, a building block. So yeah, I'm miffed at that. I saw a lot of potential in him. I saw a lot of opportunity in him to pair with whatever is coming. Building block, man, foundation piece. Not your cornerstone, but a foundation piece.
My thing with the Sixers, like, I'm not upset. Like, I'm an MCW fan. I like the young dude, but there's really nobody on the roster at this current point besides maybe Joel Embiid, and that's only because they hyped him to be the next Akeem Olajuwon, and he hasn't gotten a chance to play yet. So he's like the only person on the roster currently that I would be upset had he gone today. KJ McDaniels, I didn't see coming, but I totally understand it. KJ McDaniels, with the contract that he signed in Philly, he signed a 1-year deal as a rookie because he was a second-round pick. That basically shows you that he didn't really want to be in Philly anyway. He signed a 1-year deal that wasn't even guaranteed. Right. and they offered him a 2-year guaranteed contract. So that's showing he becomes a restricted free agent. He's probably going to bolt anyway, so it's good. You get something for him. MCW, I definitely like. I think a lot of Sixers fans are a little bit emotional, and they're looking at his numbers and the fact that he is a walking potential triple-double. But, you know, he has flaws. You know, first of all, he's not healthy all the time. He can't shoot.
No jumper.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Jason Kidd as a young guy, but with that. And he's going to play under Jason Kidd, so Jason Kidd is probably going to, you know, he's probably going to make him good enough for you to say to Sixers fans, I told you so, for people to say we should have never got rid of him. That might happen. But for me as a Sixers fan, I just can't get upset about anything that happened. We got to jump on Court Vision, man. So we got to get with the guys at sports-kings.com because we're out of time here, B, but we got to talk about all of these trades that happened. So we're going to have a Court Vision episode coming at you guys quickly. So just stay tuned for that, War Room Sports TV. But look, good people out there in War Room land, thanks for joining us again. Shout out to everybody in the chat room on Facebook, Twitter, and all the callers. If we didn't get to you, we apologize. You know, we're running a 2-man operation this evening, so it was a little difficult to get to the phone lines. We'd like to thank Fred Perdue of College Football Extra for joining us to talk NFL Scouting Combine. Tune in next week, same time, same place, live right here or on demand on the WRS Podcast Network for some more great sports talk. We'll further shift our focus to the second half of the NBA season, and of course, we'll discuss all the other big stories in the world of sports. So until then, enjoy your week. We'll see you right back here next time. Be sure to catch our conversations on Facebook, Twitter, and our webcast on WarRoomSportsTV.com and all of our network shows on WRSPN.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in that war against ignorance. We'll see you chumps on top.
Allah.
6 to 8. Yeah. War Room Sports. Y'all ready? Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Yo. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Yeah. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the box push. Listen live, push 1 to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip-hop scholars, tip-stop for knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dad, DJ, Shot Back, B. Austin. I'm Chop. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.